chapter 19. And Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, returned to his house in peace to Jerusalem. And Jehu, the son of Hanani, the seer, went out to meet him, and said to King Jehoshaphat, Shouldest you help the wicked, and love them that hate the Lord? For this thing wrath is upon you from before the Lord. Nevertheless, there are good things found in you, in that you have put away the Asheroth out of the land, and have set your heart to seek God. And Jehoshaphat dwelt in Jerusalem, and he went out again among the people from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, and brought them back unto the Lord, the God of their fathers. And he set judges in the land throughout all the fortified cities of Judah, city by city, and said to the judges, Consider what you do, for you judge not for man, but for the Lord, and he is with you in giving judgment. Now therefore let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Take heed and do it, for there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, nor respect of persons, nor taking of bribes. Moreover, in Jerusalem did Jehoshaphat set of the Levites and the priests, and of the heads of the fathers' houses of Israel, for the judgment of the Lord, and for controversies, and they returned to Jerusalem. And he charged them, saying, Thus shalt you do in the fear of the Lord, faithfully and with a whole heart. And whensoever any controversy shall come to you from your brethren that dwell in their cities, between blood and blood, between law and commandment, statutes and ordinances, you shall warn them, that they be not guilty towards the Lord, and so wrath come upon you and upon your brethren. Thus shalt you do, and you shall not be guilty. And behold, Amariah, the chief priest, is over you in all the matters of the Lord, and Zebadiah, the son of Ishmael, the ruler of the house of Judah, in all the king's matters. Also the officers of the Levites before you deal courageously, and the Lord be with the good. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. We remember yesterday Jehoshaphat, and we're still in continuance with this reign of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat is God, whom God has placed under the rule, or under the law, under the commandment. God is punished. He is placed under this. We'll find out. He is making an example of Jehoshaphat, because Jehoshaphat made his heart willing towards God, and did seek the Lord God of Israel, and did establish the law and these priests. But yesterday we found out he went off with Achab. He was the king of Israel. Jehoshaphat's the king of Judah, and God divided the kingdom, see, after Solomon. And we'll find out that God is making an example, and these would be those that God makes an example of, even these two kingdoms that he's going to be using for an example. We'll go ahead and pick it up right here in verse 1. And Jehoshaphat, he, king of Judah, returned to his house in peace of Jerusalem. That was after Achab was slayed in the last chapter, and the forces of the king of Aram slayed him. And Jehoshaphat has went back to Judah. That's to Jerusalem, that place where he had set his throne, and that is Jerusalem. That is the place of peaceful teachings, is the teachings of peace. 2. And Jehu, the son of Hanani, the seer, went out to meet him, said to King Jehoshaphat, Shouldest you help the wicked and love them that hate the Lord? For this thing wrath is upon you from before the Lord. So Jehu means God himself. God is he, God himself. He is the son, the one to come forth from Hanani, or my mercy. He is the seer that went out to meet Jehoshaphat, and even the king of Judah. And he's asking, should you help the wicked and love them that hate the Lord? He's been over, he had joined himself to Achab by marriage, and he has been over in Samaria, and there he had erred against God, but he called on God, and God turned the forces from before Jehoshaphat, and God rescued Jehoshaphat out of the battle. And now Jehu, he's the prophet, he has come down to let him know that he is going to be punished now for what he's done. 3. Nevertheless, there are good things found in you, in that you have put away the Asherah out of the land, and have set your heart to seek God. But these things God found great pleasure in Jehoshaphat, this, that he did seek God with his heart, and that's with your understanding. You look for God, you seek God. This heart's that which is within. It is your understanding. It is your spirit, so to speak. And the fact that Jehoshaphat had put away the Asherah. These were the groves, as they're called in the King James Version. And these groves were where they would plant these evergreen trees. They planted these evergreen trees up there to make it a pleasant place, to make it a place that it was to represent everlasting life and this and that, for they're not gods, these things which they worship. God said, you shall not build these high places, and you shall not raise up an Asher, which God hated even from the beginning. And Jehoshaphat dwelt at Jerusalem, and he went out again among the people from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, and brought them back unto the Lord, the God of their fathers. And Jehoshaphat dwelt at Jerusalem. He stays there in the city of peaceful teachings, this one whom God has under the law. He went out again among the people from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, like he did in the past, and he teaching the law, just like he did in the past with the books of the law and the priest. And he brings all the people back once again unto the Lord. Beersheba is that well. Better is a well, and where you would get water from. And Sheba is that it means 7, if we're talking about numbers, or it means an oath. A oath is like an agreement, a covenant, so to speak, made. And the 7 oath would be even that perfect covenant. Beersheba would be from one end. It's been used to be in reference from Beersheba to Dan as from one end to the other, and Beersheba to Ephraim, because that would be the extent of Judah. Ephraim are the double-fruited. And 5. He set judges in the land throughout all the fortified cities of Judah, city by city. And Jehoshaphat, once again, established these judges. And we're going to find these are the ones that's going to distribute the law of God throughout all these fortified cities. These cities, that place which got a guard, every city, city by city. 6. And said to the judges, consider what you do, for you judge not for man, but for the Lord, and he is with you in giving judgment. And he tells these judges, and these would be, we'll find out, the Levites, the priests, and the officers of the Levites, these ones, he would set up over the law of God, that they follow the law of God. And he told them, consider what you do, because you ain't judging for men, but for the Lord. You're judging for God, and we'll find out the distortions of justice for bribery, these distortions for respected persons, having commit the sin and not setting an example would not be acceptable unto God. 7. Now therefore let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Take heed and do it, for there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, nor respect of persons, nor taking of bribes. Now let the fear of God be upon you. And at that time, these judges, these would be the priests that set up, and they were set up there to keep the justice. Now, today we have a different form of justice. It is all for a monetary gain. There's no justice in it, because they don't have no fear of God. They don't keep the law of God, and they are respecters of persons, and they do take bribes. This is not going to work, and it won't last for long, because when a nation as perverse, and a nation falls under this, we know that the nation sins greatly, and it's God that does this. But this is back to here, we find out he's warning them now. Take heed, do it. 8. Moreover, in Jerusalem did Jehoshaphat set of the Levites and the priests and of the heads of the fathers' house of Israel for the judgment of the Lord, for controversies, and they returned to Jerusalem. As well, in Jerusalem, that place of peaceful teachings, did Jehoshaphat, and he's the one that God has set rule over. He said of the Levites and of the priests, of the heads of the fathers' houses of Israel. And these would be all the Levites, those that join themselves, even the priests, these ones that will do according to the law, heads of their fathers' houses of Israel. And we're talking here about the whole house of Israel, all the nations, for the judgment of the Lord. And this was for the judgment of God. And we're talking about the Levites. We ain't talking just about all the ones like Jeroboam would raise up. See, anybody who wanted to be one could be one. And these would be for the controversies they were supposed to see over. 9. And he charged them, saying, Thus shalt you do in the fear of the Lord faithfully and with a whole heart. And this is what you're going to do. And with a whole heart, that means with all your understanding and faithfully in front of God. Because God's going to hold you accountable. See, anytime you take up that seat, anytime you take up a position like that and before the Lord, well, you can bet you He's going to hold you 100% accountable right to the law and to the letter of it. 10. And whensoever any controversy shall come up to you from your brethren that dwell in their cities, between blood and blood, between law and commandments, statutes and ordinances, you shall warn them that they be not guilty towards the Lord, and so wrath come upon you and upon your brethren. Thus shalt you do, and you shall not be guilty. And whensoever any controversy comes up from among your brethren, all those that are around you, those in the same area, that dwell in their cities, all these around that you've been given charge over, between blood and blood, between that which requires blood for blood. See, it's always going to be the law says an eye for an eye, it's a tooth for a tooth. There's a rightful recompense for the crime, and that would be the law. And the commandments, these between the law and the commandment, this breaking of the law, and the statutes and these ordinances and how to keep those. See, because it's all for your own good anyway. And Jehoshaphat tells them, you will warn them. You will give them warning of what they're doing, that they be not guilty towards God, that they're not guilty towards God. But we'll find out that's just not what goes on, and we'll find out. See, so wrath come upon you and upon your brethren, because just like we found out in Ezekiel, what God tell Ezekiel, He said, now, son of man, I send you to warn them. If you go and warn them, their sin be on their own head, but you have washed your hands. See, but if you don't go to warn them, they'll die in their sin, but their blood will I require of your hands. See, because there's no warning. There's no warning. See, and the warning could not be more clear as it is this day, and we can see the wrath of God upon our society. 11. And behold, Amariah, the chief priest, is over you in all the matters of the Lord, and Zebadiah, the son of Ishmael, the ruler of the house of Judah, in all the king's matters, also the officers of the Levites before you, deal courageously, and the Lord be with the good. The Lord's always going to be with the good, prospering them before them, because they are righteous before the Lord. See, and the earth does belong to the righteous man, not to the wicked and the evil, whom the law was given as a covenant of peace, that they might live. And Amariah, as this one who speaks for God, or he's the spoken of God, that speaker of God. And he is the son of Ishmael, and that one who does come forth from these ones who have listened to the mighty one. He is the ruler of the house of Judah, and that one who rules over praisings in all the king's matters. All the officers and the Levites before you, and these would be those ones who are rulers over those that join, and are before you. They deal courageously, and the Lord is with always the good. Because, see, if we don't look for those with understanding, we can't find it ourselves. God is who we should seek for all understanding. And from the beginning, the book of Deuteronomy tells us, I give you the law. It will be your wisdom. It will be your understanding. It is your knowledge. And from the beginning, God did give you what you asked for. He wrote it in your heart. You don't got to send nobody to go get it for you. Let's move forward. Chapter 20. Turn and return.